All right, guys, we got a surprise, a little Santa came early Christmas gift. We got a BNR shaped present dropped right on our laps last night. Let's talk about it. Video starts right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back right here to Hometown TCG. You all know me, my name is Josh, and I was trying to get some sleep again. LSS just cannot stop. They are directly targeting my sleep schedule with absolute fire being dropped on our heads, and we got the banned and restricted announcement that was scheduled for March 2nd. It looks like it's like Santa, we're kids, and Santa came early, and they gave us this information. And first and foremost, I want to say a lot of the feedback and commentary that the community had, especially the high-end player base, was that they won't have enough time to change how they want to play, switch their decks, and to get a feel for the meta with the announcement dropping so late. So it's almost like LSS heard this and maybe didn't reschedule a new announcement, but said, you know what, the players are important, we're going to give this announcement to them early, and this announcement dropped. So in this video, we're going to go over the classic constructed changes, we're going to go over the blitz changes, and I have some freaking spicy takes about the info that can be found in this announcement. So let's get into this video. First and foremost, you know we got to talk classic construction. We talked about the feedback from the players on Pro Tour 1 right here in the United States and in New Jersey. And with that being said, classic constructed is the focal point of this BNR announcement, in my opinion, as far as the most recent event is concerned. Now, the first ban that we saw is a Hometown TCG special. If you've been following this channel, if you followed me on the reaction phase, you know that my theory is that Awakening is the most likely ban target in Starvo, and it looks like, boom, Awakening gets hit right off the bat. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I feel like this is a safe ban. There's not a bunch of people investing in Awakenings. It's not like these players bought a bunch of Awakenings at the last event and now they're out all this money. Awakening is a fairly cheap card, but as we've saw recently, Awakening isn't run in a couple of the top Starvo lists. A lot of these winning lists are actually cutting the Awakening. And I have a theory on this. It's Starvo can't effectively be raced while Awakening exists in the meta. So let's take all the other meta concerns out of it and we'll just talk Starvo. A hyper aggro deck, something super low to the ground, can't effectively race Starvo when there's a punish and catch up mechanic for being behind in life that can push Starvo over the edge as long as he keeps it, relatively close and really, take over these games and dominate these decks. Dominate, literally. +2 dominate and go again these decks. So I think this is kind of targeted as saying like, hey players, if Awakening's not an option, do you feel more comfortable running these hyper aggro decks out there with things like, the Prism, the heavy aura build right now is not the most efficient into these hyper aggro decks. And if Starvo doesn't have Awakening, there's a chance that these hyper aggro decks can get there. So I think that's the target here. Moving on is a line that definitely surprised me. It's the Autumn's Touch suspension. So Autumn's Touch, the Earth card, red, yellow, blue, that does block for 3, ever important value right there, is suspended. What that means, it's effectively banned with a condition, and the condition on this suspension is Starvo hits Living Legend. So while we have Starvo, we can't have Autumn's Touch. And Starvo does make really efficient use of the card Autumn's Touch. It does a lot of what the deck wants to do. It is an Earth card, so it helps satisfy, the one part of the rainbow. It is a big attack, so in turns that you are missing out on some of your Oaken Olds or your Crippling Crush or Pulverizes if you're running whatever it might be, it's an attack that you can throw for 9, dominate, go again, really force through that damage and make your hit effects later in the game matter more. And more importantly, it does block for 3. So a lot of Starvo builds have pivoted into this Guardian grind style that says with Seeds or with Crown of Seeds and the Shield, I'm comfortable pitching a card that blocks for 2, turning that into 2 block and a card, and then seeing where I am and going from there. And I'm comfortable recycling all of these resources and grinding you out to the deep end where I have all my good stuff left, and now I get to smash you. So not having this card does chip away at that strategy, but to how much is something I wonder. Like, I wonder if that's going to be enough to cripple the deck to an extent. Maybe the combination of that and Awakening, so a slightly less, effective Starvo Trigger, no more Awakening. Now aggro can really, really make its face shown in the meta. So I'm interested to see how that goes. RIP to my girl and my boy. George, you did the podcast with us last week. Shout out you. Soft ban on Briar. I have a pet deck, Earthbriar deck, that loves running Awakenings. There's just a lot of value there. Red and blue, block for 3, big attacks. It definitely stinks that Oldhim and Briar do feel kind of the pain of this, but they address that in that article, and they do say they think both of these decks will be fine in the window that Autumn's Touch is not available. Now that window again being Starvo LL's out. And next, we have the Bloodsheath Skeleton suspension. So it's suspended until Viserai Runeblood achieves Living Legend, and the community has told me, they've given me their feedback. I was on the train of I don't want to shadow ban decks. If the deck isn't a problem, don't ban it. Like, I don't want to see that ban. So I was against Viserai bans because Viserai is not a problem. However, this is one of those moments I'm going to lean into LSS, and LSS is saying, you know what, Josh, it is a problem. You're wrong on this take, and they're saying that if Starvo is not a thing, if Starvo Living Legend out, they mentioned this article, Viserai's waiting in the wings, and they think Viserai can become this monster that the meta can't handle and other decks can't deal with, and I'm going to lean on trusting that. It's a card that I did not want to see bans. I didn't want to see the deck touched, but this is something that they said, you know what, it's necessary, so I'm going to lean in on this and trust that. That's one's a little bit harder. It's kind of an older card. It's a weird and kind of unique interaction. It does block for 2. There could be some other value gotten out there, but it really turns off what OTK Vis wants to do. So I'm leaning into LSS. While it might not be something I understand or I was championing, I trust that they've done the research and they're going to make this call. And now, I'm not kidding about this. This is not a meme. This is the most important line in this entire ban and restricted announcement. The next banned and restricted announcement we got, the last one we got for Classic Constructed, was the fact that Seeds of Agony, the old school chain card, it's not old school, it's Monarch, but to me that's old school now. The Monarch chain card has been moved from banned to suspended. So remember, banned until a condition is met, and that condition is chain hits Living Legend. Are we seriously about to get a Shadow Runeblade in Uprising right now? Is that seriously about to happen? Why else make this announcement right now? There's another ban and restricted announcement planned for June 24th down the road. If we wanted to move Seeds, if we wanted, Chain's the only hero that can play Seeds. If we wanted to move Seeds, we could move Seeds then. We're moving Seeds right now. Why are we doing that? That to me could be a gigantic tell. Or it could just be like, we decided we want to do this. We're slapping in the ban and restricted announcement now. It's going to matter in a year or 2 sets or 3 sets or 4 sets, whatever it might be. It'll matter then when we get our next Shadow Runeblade. But until then, Josh, calm down in the hype train. I refuse. I think this is a tell. If we get a Shadow Runeblade in this next set, the community is going to explode. I want to see a set without a Runeblade, but when it comes to a new set of Flesh and Blood, I'll pretty much consume anything you throw at me. I'll definitely check it out no matter what. So that gets us through the Classic Constructed ban. Again, I think it's cool for our high-level players. We got some more stuff a little bit earlier. We got our information a little bit earlier, so we get to operate with that full information. And finally, moving on to Blitz, signing off Viserai into Living Legend, taking Nebula Blade with Viserai, young Viserai. So we talked about the Blitz season, young Viserai being extremely oppressive, being able to kind of close these games out in 1 turn, 2 turns. It's super common. So seeing Viserai kind of pivot into that gone spot is interesting. We do see the Awakening ban here, so Awakening ban in Blitz is back, and it makes sense to me. It's if Blitz is effective in a 40 life, or if Awakening is effective in a 40 life format as a catch-up mechanic, imagine what it does in a 20 life format. It could be a closeout mechanic while you're behind. Like, it can be completely insane. So that makes sense to me. The Seeds of Agony, again, moving from banned to suspended, indicating that we are looking at a Shadow Runeblade option. I don't know. I'm just reading between the lines, guys out there in content land. Don't shoot the messenger here. And then 2 bans that I thought were interesting based on what they said. they've talked about these Kano bans, and seeing Snapback and Stir the Aetherwind hit suspension until the end of Skirmish Season 5 is so interesting to me. Kano felt like a deck that can pop off, and Kano's gotten a lot of great tools recently in Aether Wildfire and Emeritus Scolding. Those are great Kano tools that he's picked up recently, and he's always been a strong deck in Blitz. But it feels weird to hit Kano now, so I wonder if this falls into the bucket of some stuff coming out in Uprising still has the possibility to kind of break open these two cards, and we want to further evaluate this. So again, not consequential cards. They do hit Kano pretty hard. It's a lot of what Kano likes to do. Those cards are a big piece of kind of the chip away portion of the game before you get to that closeout stage. So I'm going to be interested to see how that pans out overall. As with all the information I'm operating with, I'm not for the Kano bans. That's not something, again, I would have championed or charged for. But if they're working with full information, so again, LSS working with full information here, I got to assume that there's something I don't understand about either something coming out in Uprising or an interaction that I personally haven't explored yet that makes Kano far more viable. And they do mention, again, it's tough. Kano's not exactly new player friendly. It sucks to play against a Kano when you're new. But the big news about Blitz is we got this what is it, the Stubby Hammers ban, and in the ban announcement they said, hey, we banned Stubby Hammers because of some cool game mechanics, some awesome gameplay that we're bringing you in Uprising. Stubby Hammers is an OTK tool that starts on the board from turn 1 and can kind of turn on this OTK strat right away. So we got to get rid of that. We want these games of Blitz going 3 turns. We don't want them closed out right away. We want them going at least 3 turns. So we have to ban Stubby Hammers. And I was pretty okay with that. I was like, oh, that's great. We've play tested. We know this is a problem. Let's address the problem before we have to live through the meta. But then the Heart and Cross Strap ban hit. And it didn't say that it's because of stuff in Uprising, and I think the reason it doesn't say that is because then we would know there's a Brood in Uprising. I think this is for the same reason. I think we banned, the description was really similar, right? Heart and Cross Trap banned because it can exploit an OTK strategy, but we haven't found one yet, but it can exploit that strategy. I think we're getting a Brute in Uprising, guys. So Brute, Wizard for sure. Shadow Runeblade is the hottest of hot takes for Uprising. But all this stuff is extremely interesting, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about the banned and restricted announcement. I'm hyped. I know we've got more Everfest, or not Everfest, Uprising stuff. We don't have Everfest spoilers anymore. If we have Everfest spoilers, that's a problem. We've got Uprising spoilers coming up. We got more information dropping today at the time this video comes out. And if you haven't checked me out yet, visit me at patreon.com/HometownTCG. You can get exclusive access to the Hometown TCG Discord. Follow me on socials. Click like, click subscribe. I appreciate you all for coming out. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see how this pans out. And until next time, you all know me. My name is Josh, and I will see you around. Goodbye.